A poor farmer saves an injured woman, then learns she's the heir to a billion-dollar fortune. The wind howled across the open fields of Pine Creek, flattening rows of golden wheat like waves against a shoreline. Jacob Miller, calloused hands, weather-beaten face, boots older than some of his tools, tightened his coat and pushed his wheelbarrow up the muddy path to his farmhouse. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed and the bank threatened foreclosure on his land. But Jacob was nothing if not resilient. That night, as lightning danced in the distance and rain drenched the earth, a strange sound broke the monotony of the storm. A scream. Short. Panicked. Jacob froze. Without hesitation, he dropped the wheelbarrow and ran toward the narrow forest road that bordered his farm. The headlights of a crashed black SUV flickered through the trees. One door hung open. Beside it, barely conscious, lay a young woman, her arm twisted, leg pinned beneath a broken branch. Jacob knelt beside her. "Miss, can you hear me?" Her lips trembled. "Help, please. I can't feel my leg." Without waiting for more, Jacob lifted the branch, tore off his coat, and wrapped it around her shivering body. He carried her through the rain, across the fields and into his modest home. "I'm Jacob," he said as he gently set her on the couch, his voice kind and steady. "You're safe now." The woman's eyes fluttered open. Even in the dim light, Jacob noticed her diamond bracelet, now muddied and scuffed. It looked out of place in his rustic living room. So did she, delicate, refined, almost ethereal. "Lila," she whispered. "My name is Lila." And then she passed out. Jacob, unaware of the storm that would soon hit harder than any weather ever could, stared at her unconscious form, already wondering who she truly was. Because Lila was no ordinary woman. And his life was about to change forever. By morning, Lila's fever had broken. Her leg was swollen but not broken. Jacob had seen enough farming accidents to know. He cooked her eggs and potatoes while she slept, her head nestled in a pillow sewn by his late wife. She awoke to the smell of breakfast. "You saved me," she said softly, trying to sit up. Jacob nodded, pulling over a chair. "What were you doing on that road?" "No one drives through Pine Creek unless they're lost." Lila hesitated. "I was trying to get away." He didn't press. Everyone had secrets. Lord knows he did. He just nodded. "Well, you're welcome to stay here until you're better. Doctor's too far out and the bridge is flooded." Lila stared around the modest home. Wooden beams, patched wallpaper, cracked photographs of a simpler life. It was nothing like the penthouses she grew up in, where maids dusted gold chandeliers and drivers waited at the door. But it felt warmer. Safer. That night, as the rain continued, she found Jacob sitting on the porch, sipping black coffee. "You live alone?" "Just me and the land now." "Why'd you help me?" she asked, wrapping herself tighter in the old quilt. He looked out at the stars. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it." Lila looked at him differently then, not as a farmer but as something else. Something deeper. And for the first time in her life she felt ashamed of the world she came from. The world she was heir to. Because Lila wasn't just a rich girl running from a bad date. She was the sole heir to the Ashbourne fortune. A billion-dollar empire of oil, real estate, and politics. And right now the people in her world thought she was dead. And maybe, for the first time, she felt more alive than ever. 3 days later, the bridge reopened, but Lila hadn't left. Jacob let her help around the house. She cooked badly. He taught her how to gather eggs. She laughed at herself when she tripped over a chicken. He hadn't heard laughter in that house in years. Then came the black SUV. Thick, polished, quiet. It pulled up to the edge of the field like a shadow. 2 men in black coats stepped out. Jacob saw them first. His instincts flared. "Stay inside," he told Lila. But she didn't listen. She peeked through the window and turned white as paper. "They found me," she whispered. The men knocked, faces blank. "Mr. Miller," one said. "We're looking for a woman. She may have crashed near here." Jacob didn't flinch. "Ain't seen no one." The second man narrowed his eyes. "We have reason to believe she's with you." "Then your reason's wrong," Jacob said, stepping outside and closing the door behind him. They stared at him, unmoving, unreadable. "She's worth a lot, you know," one muttered. "You really want to stand in the way of that?" Jacob's jaw tightened. "I'm not afraid of men who talk like cowards." The men exchanged a glance, got back in their car and drove off. Lila burst out once they were gone. Why did you do that? You don't even know who I am. Jacob finally asked. Then tell me. Lila stepped forward. I'm Lila Ashbourne. My father died 3 months ago. I'm the legal heir, but my uncle wants the fortune. He tried to arrange an accident. And he almost succeeded. Jacob didn't blink. You have no idea how dangerous this is now, she said, her voice breaking. You're in danger too. I've been poor my whole life, Jacob replied. This land, this house, my memories, they're all I have. But I'll lose it all before I let anyone hurt you again. Lila stared at him, heart pounding. And at that moment, she wasn't just an heiress. She was a woman standing in the middle of nowhere, realizing she'd just found the only person who ever truly saw her. The next morning, Jacob was out early tending to the cattle. Lila watched him from the window, his movements calm, methodical. There was something dignified in the way he worked, like the earth itself trusted him. Inside, she pulled out her phone, still half dead from the storm, and scrolled through the only remaining contact that hadn't been wiped when she fled. Maya Langston, her late father's personal attorney. She typed carefully. Safe for now. Need help. Can't trust anyone else. L.A. As soon as she sent the message, she deleted it and shut the phone off. Later that afternoon, Jacob came inside, wiping sweat from his brow. You all right? I've sent a message to someone I trust. I didn't tell them where I was. Just that I'm alive. He nodded, not asking questions. But deep inside he knew this wasn't over. That night, as they sat on the porch under a full moon, Lila told him everything. How her father died suddenly, how her uncle Richard convinced the board to delay the transfer of ownership, and how her car accident was no accident at all. Jacob said nothing for a long time. Then, you ever think he might come here himself? Lila shivered. If he does, he'll come with lawyers. Or worse. Jacob rose. Then we'll be ready. What do you mean? He turned to her, dead serious. You saved me, Lila. You made this house feel alive again. I won't let anyone take that away, not even a billionaire in a suit. 2 days later, an envelope arrived. No stamp, no return address. It had been hand-delivered by a stranger on horseback from a nearby town. Jacob was out feeding the goats when Lila opened it. Inside were documents with her name on them. Proof of legal ownership. Proof of foul play. And a note from Maya. Your uncle knows you survived. He's searching every backroad and farmhouse within 200 miles. You need to act fast. Trust no one but the man you're with. Jacob came in, brushing hay from his coat. She held up the papers. It's all here. These prove everything. If I bring them to a judge, I can stop him. Jacob stared at the papers, then at her. You'll have to leave. She nodded. But I don't want to go alone. Jacob hesitated. He'd never left the farm for more than a day in his life. This land had been in his family for generations. But now it felt like something worth letting go, for something even bigger. That night they packed what little they needed. Lila wore Jacob's late wife's old travel coat. He took only a lockbox with the deed to the farm and a photo of his parents. They didn't know what they'd face, but they knew they'd face it together. As they stood on the porch one last time, Lila whispered, "You don't have to do this." Jacob looked at her, eyes steady, voice low. "You came into my life broken and bleeding, and I didn't leave you behind. I won't start now." They reached the city 2 days later, hiding in the back of a grain truck. Maya met them in a church basement, tired but still sharp as ever. "I've filed an injunction," she said. "But you need to testify." Lila nodded. The courtroom was cold and sterile. Her uncle Richard stood on the other side, smug in a charcoal suit. He raised a brow when Lila walked in, alive and stronger than he remembered. "Lila," he said smoothly. "We thought you were dead," she snapped. "I know." Jacob sat quietly behind her as the proceedings began. Lila took the stand, explaining everything: her disappearance, the sabotage, the men who tried to find her. Then Maya presented the documents. One by one the judge examined them, his expression darkening. Richard's lawyer stood and argued the papers were forged. That's when Jacob rose and spoke. "I watched her receive that envelope. I've worked this land my whole life. I know the look of truth when I see it. She didn't come to me as an heiress. She came as a woman running for her life." The judge paused, then ruled, "All assets shall be transferred back to Ms. Lila Ashbourne immediately." This court further recommends a federal investigation into Mr. Richard Ashbourne's involvement in attempted fraud and endangerment. Gasps filled the courtroom. Lila turned, tears brimming. Jacob stood, his old hat in hand. "I'm just a farmer," he said. "But I'd give up every acre for the chance to stand beside you again." Lila ran to him and wrapped her arms around his chest, sobbing into his coat. And that moment, simple and quiet, was worth more than every dollar in her inheritance.